South rises and North descends. Who is really strangling the Chinese people? China's new 3 products face unfavorable prospects. State Council think tank openly acknowledges time left for the CCP in history is limited. It's all covered in today's China Truths. South rises and North descends. Who is really strangling the Chinese people? The economy of Southeast Asian countries south of China is soaring, and the global supply chain is shifting to these countries, making rising in the south and falling in the north a reality. In the face of this, the Chinese Communist Party always blames external forces for strangling the Chinese people and never introspects its problems. So, who is really strangling the Chinese? On December 16, Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh stated during his visit to Japan that Vietnam is a safe haven in the current global economic storm. He indicated that Vietnam will continue to reduce administrative approval times to facilitate investment for businesses. It is understood that at the end of last month, Vietnam and Japan upgraded their bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership, committing to strengthen defense cooperation and economic ties. Currently, Vietnam's economic growth rate far exceeds China's, attracting substantial investments from countries such as Europe, America, Japan, and South Korea. In contrast, a large amount of foreign investment from these countries is withdrawing from China due to the increasingly hostile political environment and high costs. In addition, the CCP's aggressive trade policies, particularly its trade war with the United States and assertive diplomatic approaches, termed wolf warrior diplomacy, have contributed to deteriorating relations with countries like the United States, European nations, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Canada. This approach has led to a perception of the CCP as malevolent, resulting in China having fewer global allies and more adversaries. China's alliances with nations like North Korea, Iran, and Russia are seen as moving away from global norms, adversely affecting its economy. Major developed countries are increasingly reluctant to collaborate with China, making its economic prosperity unsustainable as it relies on a limited number of allies and the burdened Chinese populace. The CCP is believed to have deviated from the reformist policies of previous leaders, reverting to more extreme communist ideologies akin to Mao Zedong's era. This shift encompasses various sectors, including the economy, politics, military, and diplomacy, and is viewed as an attempt to consolidate and strengthen personal dictatorship. Such actions have prompted international backlash and opposition. The CCP's policies, including the removal of presidential term limits, suppression of movements in Hong Kong, territorial disputes in the South China Sea, and exportation of its authoritarian ideology through initiatives like the Belt and Road and wolf warrior diplomacy, have contributed to China's increasing international isolation. Domestically, the CCP's actions include the crackdown on 709 human rights lawyers, the removal of low-end populations, the manipulation of highly unfair trading mechanisms in the A-share market, repeated instances of shorting A-shares, resulting in the financial distress of over 100 million middle-class Chinese households. The unyielding implementation of the 3-year zero-COVID policy has caused hardship for hundreds of millions of families and millions of businesses. Additionally, efforts to rectify the real estate industry, suppress the education and training sector, and favor state-owned enterprises over private ones have led to the unemployment of tens of millions of Chinese people. The crucial question is, who is orchestrating these actions? Who will bear the repercussions of these policies? Is it foreign forces strangling the Chinese, or is it the malevolent nature of the CCP? The CCP has always considered itself the master of China, acting arbitrarily on its land, treating Chinese people as expendable, and harvesting their wealth and organs at will. On December 10, Marco Respinti, a journalist and the chief editor of Bitter Winter, an Italian-based religious freedom magazine, stated that the issue of the CCP's organ harvesting should be on the front pages of the media. He also mentioned, the Chinese embassy even called Italian media journalists, accusing them of reporting on organ harvesting. The CCP has tried to silence the reporters. Reports have exposed the CCP's organ harvesting from Chinese citizens since 2006. International experts and investigators, analyzing peculiarities in China's organ market, believe that there exists a massive live organ bank in China, primarily consisting of Falun Gong practitioners. A regime that arbitrarily steals organs from its people for its benefit, treating them as expendable in its schemes, makes its frequent strangling of the Chinese people seem normal. Due to the CCP's hostile foreign policies, domestic crackdowns, and policy errors, China's economy is in recession, with widespread defaults. On August 15, the CCP temporarily suspended the release of youth unemployment data, which had recently soared to a record high of 20.8%. The actual unemployment rate among Chinese youth is estimated to be closer to 45% or even higher. Data from various platforms like Didi, Trip, and Starbucks show significant declines in user activity, indicating widespread unemployment. The only thing that saw an increase was Boss Xipin, an online recruitment platform in China, with a 100% growth in monthly active users, indicating that over 100 million Chinese people are urgently seeking employment to solve their social strangulation problems. Furthermore, the financial sector is in turmoil, with A-share investors experiencing average losses of over 40% this year, major private and public funds facing liquidation crises, and difficulties in redeeming various bank bonds. The collapse of China's largest private financial holding group, the Zhongji Group, with an estimated default amount of up to 350 billion yuan, and the arrest of China Evergrande Group chairman Su Jiayin, leaving over 1 trillion yuan in debt to be resolved, all point to the difficulty the CCP faces in handling these issues. As a result, Moody's has downgraded the ratings of the CCP government and its banks to negative. The above situation reflects an undeniable fact: the one strangling the Chinese is not some so-called foreign force or hostile force, but the CCP, a party that has always claimed to be great, glorious, and correct. The cruel reality of North Korea, Cuba, present-day China, and Russia tells us that the communist ideology cannot save the Chinese people or prosper the Chinese economy. It is just a doctrine for the wealth of dictatorial autocrats that cannot benefit the vast majority of people. Prosperity and stability come from aligning with universal human values, and the majority of people can only benefit in such a society. The results brought about by China's reform and opening up to the free world for 30 years and the recent 10 years leaning towards communist orthodoxy speak for themselves. However, the present leaders of the Chinese Communist Party not only refuse to renounce communism but actively endorse and propagate it. Consequently, they encounter widespread opposition and criticism from Western societies and face disapproval from the Chinese populace. The core of communism is inherently based on the erroneous notion of false, evil, fight. Employing such tactics to handle international affairs and govern China is destined to result in ongoing calamities and an inevitable economic collapse, ultimately leading to its historical obsolescence. From this standpoint, the current patterns of decline in the South and ascent in the North, along with the suppression of the Chinese people, undeniably indicate the resurgence of communist ideology. Therefore, only by completely abandoning communism and dismantling the CCP's evil regime can the Chinese people liberate themselves from oppression and achieve a new life of happiness. China's new 3 products face unfavorable prospects. China's new 3 products in the new energy industry, comprising electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and solar cells, are facing tough challenges. Despite a 61.6% export growth in the first half of 2023, contributing 1.8 percentage points to China's export growth, these sectors are now struggling due to the Chinese economic downturn and international anti-dumping investigations. Lithium carbonate, crucial for batteries and dubbed white petroleum, has seen a dramatic price fall, with futures prices dropping below 100,000 yuan and potentially going down to 80,000 yuan per ton. This is a significant decrease from the 2022 peak price of 600,000 yuan per ton. Approximately 1/3 of lithium manufacturers are currently operating at a loss. Furthermore, the industrial silicon market, essential for the solar photovoltaic industry, has also seen significant price drops. This decline is impacting major Chinese companies and the broader industry, including electric vehicle and solar cell production. China's dominance in these sectors, with significant global market shares in electric vehicle exports and solar cell production, is now under threat. In the electric vehicle sector, China's exports rose from 240,000 units in 2019 to 1.12 million units in 2022, with China accounting for over half of the global new energy vehicle deliveries. However, electric vehicle sales in 2023 have not met targets, reaching only 5.92 million out of the projected figures. Industrial silicon prices have also fallen sharply, impacting the solar cell sector, where China holds 3/4 of the global production capacity. Economic challenges and decreased demand are stalling large-scale investments in new energy projects in China. The sales of electric vehicles have also fallen short of targets, with companies resorting to heavy discounts. Additionally, the new energy industry has long relied on the support of the CCP government, which subsidizes production enterprises and artificially lowers product prices, crushing the new energy industries in Europe and America and thus capturing most of the global market share, leading to anti-dumping investigations by these countries. In 2009, the CCP government decided to fully support industries such as electric vehicles and began providing industry subsidies, with some subsidies exceeding the sale price of the vehicles themselves. 3/4 of the world's lithium-ion batteries are made in China, and Chinese lithium battery manufacturers, such as CATL, have made significant investments in Xinjiang, using a large amount of forced labor. If investigations by Western countries confirm Chinese dumping, China's new energy industry chain could face collapse. State Council think tank openly acknowledges, time left for the CCP in history is limited. On December 17, a think tank member of the Chinese Communist Party's State Council publicly admitted that the CCP has little time left, historically speaking. On the occasion of the 45th anniversary of the CCP's 11th plenary session of the Third Central Committee, Hu Wei, the deputy director of the Public Policy Research Center of the State Council's Counselor's Office, wrote an article on the U.S.-China Story Collection platform. He stated, historically speaking, we, the CCP, do not have much time left. In the article, Hu Wei expressed that this might be his last article commemorating the third plenary session. He stated that the so-called opening up was essentially an opening to the West, using Western capital, technology, and talent for the development of the CCP. The closure before the reform and opening up was not a closure to the entire outside world but only to the Western world, as the CCP was always open to Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Therefore, the key to the so-called reform and opening up was opening the door to the Western world. Who believes that whether to face modernization, the world, in the future, or to remain closed and self-sufficient, is the litmus test for judging reform and opening up. In this context, how to handle relations with the West, especially the United States, is a crucial prerequisite for the success of CCP's modernization. Who claims that many people always believe that the United States is unrelentingly hostile, which is not consistent with the historical facts of reform and opening up. If we oppose everything supported by the United States and support everything against it, then Sino-US relations will definitely not be good. The article acknowledges that whether China can continue to integrate and catch up with the current global technological revolution is key to whether it can build a modernized, strong country and even find its place in today's world. This is an extremely severe challenge, and the consequences of being actively or passively ousted are unimaginable. The article concludes with, "What needs to be said has been said, and we don't have much time left in history." Public records show that Hu Wei was born in 1964 and holds a PhD in political science. He was the deputy director, professor, and PhD advisor at the Institute of Politics and Administration of Fudan University. A recipient of the Chinese government's special allowance, he is currently a professor at the Party School of the Shanghai Municipal Committee of the CCP and the vice chairman of the Shanghai Federation of Social Science Associations. Political commentator Li Lin believes that Hu Wei's article has several points of interest. One is his challenge to the authorities' approach of adherence to one doctrine, which he believes does not conform to the so-called reform and opening up. Another point is his challenge to the authorities' narrative of the East rising and the West declining, openly advocating for improving Sino-US relations and predicting the consequences of the CCP's technological backwardness leading to historical elimination. Li Lin notes that, as an insider expert, whose article still aims to preserve the party. However, the CCP's disintegration may involve pressure from the United States, but the fundamental reason must be the Chinese people recognizing the true nature of the CCP and deciding to abandon it. he believes that more people will see this clearly in the future. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.